Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the series where I'm recreating Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex from Security Breach in Minecraft. In the last episode we built the entire sewers area, but in this video it is time to finish the Mega Pizzaplex by moving on to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place underneath the Roxy Raceway. If you're excited for the build's completion, then make sure you leave a like on this video and subscribe with notifications on so that we don't miss out on all future uploads and can help the channel to continue to grow. But with all that being said, let's move on to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. When recreating the Mega Pizzaplex in Minecraft, it was only appropriate to build the sunken pizzeria as the last location. The entire build is a massive mineshaft where the Pizzaplex staff have tunneled down into the earth to uncover the abandoned pizzeria. Along the way to the location, multiple relics can be found, such as a giant Freddy Fazbear head in a small opening next to the elevator. Upon entering the pizzeria, however, the first thing to notice is the damage that has been dealt to it from the fire at the end of FNAF 6 and then sinking underground. Then of course in the center of the room is another sinkhole that goes down to reveal the blob, where it sleeps on top of another buried location where William Afton has been surviving for decades. This smaller build is very reminiscent of old FNAF locations, as it has the two iconic corridors that lead to the main office space. However, with the lay of the land out of the way and the outlines all in place, there is only one final thing left to do and get started on the build. The elevator shaft has now been installed, as well as the connected tunnel system at the bottom of the sinkhole. Once again, it was quite a change building with a mix of stone grey blocks, as this build is quite literally a cave that lies deep underground and has no other main structural supports. Scattered around the cave floor, all of the details such as the generators and floodlights have been added, as well as the Freddy head in the corner, which I believe turned out quite well despite the small cove to work with. Continuing down the shaft past the endoskeleton station is the main opening that leads to the destroyed entrance of the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria with its accompanying banner logo. The banner itself is a simple black concrete powder backdrop with sandstone outlining, while banners substitute the letters, which patterns will be added to later on. With what I would call the hard part out of the way, however, it is now time that we finish up by moving on to the pizza restaurant itself, as well as the secret facility buried under. So let's complete the last main build of the Mega Pizzaplex and finish off with a time lapse. And with the build now finished, not only have we completed this section of the build, but the entirety of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex is now all built in. Moving back to the sunken pizzeria, however, this build was really interesting and fun to make, as even though I've built many smaller and more classic FNAF locations in the past, this one has dirt and rubble in every corner, showing a big contrast to the normal bright lights and polished areas. From the main show stages to the tables and chairs, this location has been severely damaged due to its past incidences. In the middle of the room is of course the sinkhole that leads down into the blob's hiding place, where delicate scaffolding has been put in place for players to descend into the pit. Finally, moving deeper one last time is the smaller location where the player faces BurnTrap himself, where the office is complete with all of its details such as the TV monitors and the charging stations in the corners. This building has a different block pattern than the pizzeria up above, as instead of bright colors, this area has a more industrial and withered look to it. Choosing a combination of blocks to use for this area was surprisingly challenging, as the rooms needed to look like they had burn marks from being ignited in the past. Now that the build is completely finished, however, I'd like to start on what will be in the works next and start to make this pizzaplex completely functional. In the past, I've said multiple times that I wouldn't just be stopping at the building of the pizzaplex, but I also wanted to make this place as completely functional as possible to replicate the experience of playing Security Breach. Since this build didn't take nearly as long as anything else so far, I wanted to go ahead and get started on doing all the functionalities of the build, including all of those said things I just said. So what we're going to start off by doing is going over to the elevator shaft and putting in our first command blocks to make this thing functional. So let's go ahead and get started with the top of the elevator shaft itself. So first of all, we're going to need to give ourselves a command block. So let's go ahead and give us one of those. We're going to go ahead and use the wand from World Edit as well, just so that I can pinpoint the exact locations of the door itself. So let's go ahead and break down this door, as we want to be able to walk through it, walk into the elevator, click this button, the door is going to close behind us, and then we're going to get teleported down the shaft all the way to that elevator down there. We're going to open up the door on the other side, and we're going to be down at the bottom of the sinkhole. Since this door is only 2x3, however, it's not going to be as complicated as some of the other doors in the Pizzaplex. So unfortunately, there's not going to be an animation, as what is going to happen is these doors are going to be closed like this. When we walk up to these blocks here, the door is going to disappear like this. So let's just cut it right here. The door's going to open, and then once we walk through, hit the button, it's going to appear like that again. And unfortunately, there's not really an easy way for this door to be animated, as it is only 2 blocks wide. We can't have the blocks slowly come in from the sides of the elevator. They're unfortunately just going to have to pop in like this. So we're going to pinpoint both of these blocks right here. So we'll take this position and this position, and now we've got the 2 corners of the door here. So now we can go ahead and get started with the command. So we're going to do a slash fill these coordinates down here. So we've got 335, 51, and negative 270, like that. And we're going to go to our second coordinate, 334, 49, and minus 270. Now, if you're following along, I don't recommend you use the same coordinates because they're not going to be the same in your world. These 2 coordinates right here are just the 2 coordinates that are the corners of your door here. So now we're going to want to fill it in with air blocks. So that way, when we click on this button, let's just take this button quickly and place it down right there. That way, once this door is closed, we walk up to it and the door is going to disappear just like this. Now what we want, however, is the activation of the door itself. So for the time being, we're just going to go ahead and put the command blocks underneath these 2 blocks right here, just for the time being. So now that we've done all that, we want to make this always active and a repeating command, so that way you don't need to activate it with redstone. It's always going to be active. And now this should be working. So let's go ahead and copy this command block, so that way if you step on top of any of these blocks, it should theoretically place a redstone block right next to this command block and open up the door. There we go. So now the first part of the elevator is now completed. So if we walk up to these blocks here, the door is of course going to open. We can walk through, and I've gone ahead and done all the commands for this button here. So if we go ahead and click it, you can see that the door closes behind us, and now we are ready to get teleported all the way down there to that elevator. So we'll go ahead and put in the coordinates 335.5 because we want to land in the center of the block, minus 12 as that is going to be our location, and minus 274.5. The 0.5 is just so that we make sure we land in the center of the block and not in a corner, and you end up clipping through a wall or something. So now we should be able to walk through our door like this, walk on through, hit this button, it's going to close the door behind us, and it's eventually going to teleport us down into the mine shaft, and we should now be at the bottom of the floor right here. There we go. So now the last thing we need to do is just set up the opening for this door to open up, and that will be it. And now the elevator is completely functional. So one last time, we're going to go ahead and walk into the elevator just like this. We're going to go ahead and hit the button. It's going to close the door behind us. We're going to get teleported down, and then the door is going to open up a little bit after we enter the bottom. And here we go, just like that, we are now at the bottom of the mine shaft, and we are able to move on to the next part of this, which is going to be decorating this place, because right now it feels really barren, and I know we can do a lot more to make this place a bit more detailed. So we're going to start with what I consider to be the fun part, which is going to be adding in all the particles. Now there's 2 particles that I have in mind. The first of all is going to be the dust particles that are going to be suspended in the air. So when you look around, there's going to be dust everywhere as we are deep underground. We will just want to make this place feel a lot more alive. And then there's going to be some cloud particles that are going to represent the smoke. So like around the Freddy head, there's a huge cloud at the back of it. And also this hallway right here next to this generator, there is a massive smoke cloud right here that we're definitely going to add because we don't want to miss out on that small detail. So after a lot of playing around with the particle commands, I think I finally got them all to a place where they're not too distracting, but it still looks pretty good. So I've gone ahead and filled up every single place where all of the particles should be. So for example, this Freddy head, it has a little bit of smoke behind it, so I just put a little bit of particles behind it. Not too much, but it's still enough so that way you can see that there is particles behind it. This generator is of course smoking a little bit because they've been running on for too long, and of course we have the massive smoke screen that covers the way, so that way when we walk through, we get the reveal of Freddy Fazbear's pizza place sitting on the other side of this wall here. Let me know what you guys think about all of these particles. This is the first time I've really messed around with anything like this, and I'd like to hear your opinions, whether you like them or not, or if I should change them in any way. With the particles out of the way, however, it's now time that we move on to the banners. Now, I've been against this in the past, however, I think it would still be a good idea to have all of the banners have letter patterns. That way this place can be a bit more iconic, because right now it doesn't look the greatest just having red banners. I've been against it in the past because I've felt like it's kind of cheating in a way. However, I still think that we should go ahead and put in some letters for all of these banner patterns. So with the tedious task of doing all the banner patterns out of the way with, this actually turned out a lot better than I was expecting. Now of course I had to cut some corners in some places as I wasn't able to put the entire title of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. However, I still think that a shortened version of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza works really well, and this honestly makes me want to redo all the banner patterns I've done in the past and actually put letters, because this looks great now. This looks a lot better now that we're able to put some letters in, and it looks a lot more official now that it's not just a blank canvas. But now that we've done all the details on the outside of the pizzeria, it's now time to go inside the location and finish up all the details. So when it came to doing the particles on the inside of the location, it wasn't much different than doing it on the outside. For example, all of the particles here are the exact same, apart from the electrical sparks that I used for the broken light bulbs. You can see up here that there's an occasional electrical spark surrounding the lights just to resemble faulty wiring. But apart from that, all of the particles are the exact same, such as the dust particles suspended in the air, as well as the smoke surrounding these generators. With all that out the way, however, there's only a few things left on the to-do list for this video. The first one of them being, I would like to construct the blob. Now I know I said that I wouldn't be building any of the animatronic characters. I think I have a design that will work pretty well for the blob, so I just want to give this a try and see what we can come up with. So there is my quick and simple blob design. There really is nothing much going on with this thing. It's really just one solid color of all of these gray blocks mixed together, so that way it looks like the mash of tentacles that make up the blob's body. Of course, we have all the different animatronic heads that are scattered around the mass of this creature. We have Funtime Freddy's head here. We have Chica's torso at the bottom, a little bit of Bonnie, the face of Circus Baby, and of course we have Mangle's head at the bottom here. So yeah, the blob, not too much going on with it, but it's just a nice little addition to this build. However, it is now time to go down into the secret location and get all of the functionality in this place out of the way with. So of course we need all of the doors and the vents to be functional, as well as the fire pits in the corridors at the end here. So you'll notice that there's a little pad in every room that the player is able to set fire to BurnTrap in. So what I plan to do is, back in the office next to the monitors, there's two buttons here, and one of those buttons is going to be able to set fire to each one of these corresponding rooms. So if we set fire to the right room, you hit the right button, you hit the left button, you set fire to the right room, and same with the middle one. So there's not that much left to do, so let's go ahead and get this build finished off. And now with all the appropriate commands in place, this place is now completely all finished up and functional, ready for us to test out. So if we go ahead and enter back into the office, you will see that if we go ahead and click on this button here, the door will go ahead and close on us, and we can check through the window to make sure that the animatronic has left. Once they are done trying to get inside the office, we can go ahead and open the door just like that. The same thing with the door on the far right, and the same with the center vent, where if you click on this button here, you can go ahead and close that vent to stop Montgomery from climbing inside the office. So just like that, all three of these doors are now functional, as well as these buttons here on the monitors. So if we go ahead and click this button here, you will see that it sets fire to the appropriate room. We can go ahead to the middle button and we click on this one. The middle room sets on fire for a brief moment and then stops. And the same was the one on the very left. We go ahead and click this button and the room sets on fire and then extinguishes itself. So just a little feature like that is going to be making this place a lot more functional and hopefully a lot more enjoyable to mess around with once this world is eventually available. Before we end, however, I want to mention that just because the Pizzaplex build is finished, that does not mean that the work is done, as there is a lot more content that I would like to add to this map to give the player the best experience possible. So keep an eye out on more Pizzaplex videos coming your way. But with the final section now in place and all the command blocks ready, it is finally time to call the building of the Mega Pizzaplex complete. But with that, we have finished the final section of the Mega Pizzaplex. Thank you everyone so much for joining me on this journey, as it has been an absolutely incredible experience. If you did enjoy this video, then please make sure you leave a like on it and subscribe with notifications on, so that way you don't miss out on all future uploads. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode, and I will of course see you in my next video.